Hey, Pastor, it's Richard Chancey with 24 to Double. This is take 2 on how to build the perfect system to fail at following up with first-time attenders in your church. Hey, before I dive into that, I wanted to say we've made one of our trainings available for you. It's called the 6 Unbreakable Laws of Church Growth. You can find that at unbreakablechurch.com. It's Pastor Jerry Lawson and myself kind of walking through 6 systems that Jerry uses in his church. You're also going to get a free sermon series, a 3-part sermon series called When We Gather, just for signing up. So today I wanted to talk to you about how to create the perfect system to fail at follow-up. So before I dive into that, let me just tell you, think through for a second, Pastor, what it takes to get somebody to your church for the first time. There's a lot of experts talking about marketing and when Easter comes up, what do you do for Easter, and mail drops and social media and all that. And I think all of that's great. We do a lot of that and teach a lot of that ourselves. But if you look at Gallup poll research, you'll find that about 80% of people, or a little bit more, come to church the first time because they were invited. Now, what does that mean? That means that somebody goes to work every day and they build a friendship, and over time they get comfortable enough in that friendship that they can invite that person to your church. They feel comfortable enough in that relationship and with your church that they're willing to leverage some of the change that they have in their pocket to get somebody to come to church. Now, most people probably don't come the first time that they're invited, right? So that means that we're investing and inviting, and then finally the person, all the stars line up, they don't have anything else going on a Sunday morning, and they finally say, yes, I will give up my second Saturday. Now, let me talk about second Saturday for just a second, Pastor. For people that don't go to church every week, they have 2 days every weekend that look exactly the same. Meaning, if they mow the grass and they take their kids out for sports, more so now than ever, all of that stuff is happening on Saturday and Sunday. So this imaginary person that has invested in this person over time, and now they're inviting them to church, there's been a lot of leverage in that relationship, and it's a big ask. We're asking them to give up something that's known for something that is unknown, which is your church. Now, here's the thing. Most people that don't go to church on Sunday morning don't think there's anything there for them. If they're coming, it's because they've seen something in this imaginary person that's inviting them, or they know something's missing in their own life, but the world is against the top-down association that they have with our church, meaning they don't come to church because they think they know who we are. Okay? Now, are we on the same page on this invest and invite strategy? So take all of that into account, and then when they show up at our church, our system is perfectly designed to keep them from coming back. And you know why that is? Because we don't do anything. On average, about 6 to 8% of people are coming back to church after a first-time visit. So the national average, I think it's somewhere around 8% actually. So if 100 people visit your church, only 8 of them are returning. Now, some of those you can discount because they were one-time visitors, they were friends of family from out of town, they came during the holidays, whatever it was. But it's not more than a handful of that 100. The other ones came and didn't come back, and I guarantee you it's for one reason alone. They did not feel like they were wanted there, Pastor. So let me ask you this. What are you doing to follow up with people? What system do you have in place? You have a system in place, Pastor. It's probably a default system. It probably wasn't thought out as well as it should have been. And if it's more than a few years old, it's antiquated. And here's why. Because technology has changed a great deal, and now we can automate a lot. Now, in 24 to Double, the program that we talk about, Pastor Lawson and I, we help you build 7 teams, and one of those teams is the follow-up team. So hear me saying this, Pastor. This is not another thing for you to do, but it is another person for you to think about. Who is the person in your church you're going to get thinking about follow-up systems? Now, I also have, I wrote down some notes on my mirror because I've got a crazy day today, and wanted to make sure I got this message in for you. So the first thing I have on my notes is whoever that person is that would be great at follow-up. They're in the details. They are passionate about reaching people that are far from Christ. Whoever that person is, phase 1 for that person is not, let's go build this hyped up, super technical text/email/ super automated follow-up system. Step number 1 is what I call your napkin philosophy, Pastor. That means right now getting out a sheet of paper or a napkin and just writing out. I like to diagram things out, almost like mind mapping on paper, so I don't get distracted by technology, and just diagram it out. And here's what I would challenge you, Pastor. If you don't have a great follow-up system, or if it's been a couple of years since you've revisited it, sit down right now and create a completely manual follow-up process. What that means is a person is reaching out to this first-time visitor. Now, one of the things I think you have to develop in the culture of your church is when you've invested and invited in your friend and they come to your church, you're not doing the handoff to us alone. You got to do some work for it. It's your responsibility as the person with the relationship to do some follow-up. That means if they come the first week, your job is to get them back the second week and the third week. In 24 to Double, we talk about the likelihood of them returning. If they come once is only 8 to 10%. If they come 2 times a row, that number jumps up to like 40 or 50%. And then if they come 3 weeks in a row, it's like 70 or 80%. The reason for that is it's a successful pattern interrupt, right? We've changed what they do on Sunday morning and what they feel like doing on Sunday morning. The person that invited them, it's a big part of their job to do that. So that's one of your phase 1 process is a manual follow-up process, meaning text messages from those people, somebody from the church reaching out in a non-creepy way, I guess is the way I'd say it. And you have to determine what that is right for you. The church that my parents go to, they'll swing by and do a visit. And in the town I grew up in, that is part of the social norm. Doing drive-bys and, going visiting is what we called it when I was growing up. I grew up in a small town, so completely acceptable to drive by somebody's house, stop and say, hey, we're glad you came, here's a fruitcake. In Atlanta, that's a little creepy. So, and you just got to figure out what parts of the manual process you need to really dive into and own. So I would say manual processes are text messaging, old school phone calls, a handwritten letter, Pastor, that doesn't have to come from you. Things like text message and phone calls are going to be your go-to part of it. And then if you want to send something out where you spend a few more dollars, like a Starbucks gift card, that kind of thing. All these low-tech ways that you could implement on, or that team of people that are going to focus on follow-up, they could implement on that this week. Now, phase 2, in phase 2 doesn't, sorry about that, wife's calling me. So phase 2 is when you start looking at technology. Now, if you know anything about what we do at 24 to Double, you probably don't, but if you do, the whole thing is automated. All the training is online. If you come to one of our online trainings, our free trainings, we're going to follow up with you. All of that is automated. It's unbelievably thought through. It's technical. And now here's the thing. It's not phase 1, but in phase 2, starting to think about how do we do a better job of following up with people by leveraging online systems and platforms. Again, Pastor, let me say this. That's not you. You're not doing that. That's part of your follow-up team. There's a millennial in your church right now that when they wake up in the morning and they think about anything, it goes through the filter of, I wonder how we could do that better, or how we could automate that process. If you don't know what automation is, I implore you, jump in and figure it out, or sign up for our training, unbreakablechurch.com, and you're going to get firsthand experience about what an automated webinar looks like, what that automated follow-up looks like, and what online training looks like. It's a really good example of that, and you can take those ideas, Pastor, and put those to work in your church. And again, part of what we teach in 24 to Double is not how to do it, but who should do it, because you have all the resources you need in your church to be able to pull this off, Pastor. You've got all the money you need, you've got the people you need, you've got access to the people that know technology. Everything you need to be able to do follow-up well in your church, God has already made available for you in the form of who, not how, Pastor. Who in your church can you get involved in this? Because God has uniquely designed somebody in your church to be all over this stuff. And you need to find out who that person is and get them going to work on it to reach people who are far from God, but right outside the doors of your church, okay? Hopefully that's some good thoughts for you, Pastor. Today, here's what I would challenge you to do. Get that napkin out and write down your manual phase 1 follow-up process and start working on it today. Don't even think about technology or phase 2 until you've got a system that you're really hammering home in phase 1. All right, thanks so much for being with me, Pastor. Again, I apologize for driving today. I just got too much going on to slow down, but thanks for being with me. Thanks for joining us in the webinar. I'll see you in the next live stream.